I started making YouTube videos when I was 9 years old. And I remember I had this iPad and I would literally document like everything and anything. And I love to do that so much. This was also like during like Musical.ly era. So I have a lot of Musical.lys that are still on there till today, and I just loved it so much. Like that's literally all I would do. I would literally film everything, and I loved it. I loved YouTube. I would consume a lot, but just like the whole world of content, I started loving it from a young age. And then also later on, I had a Roblox YouTube channel where I was like posting, like me building, and I kind of combined both of the things that I really loved at the time in one, and that's basically what I did, and I loved it so much. And then later on, I also had a joint channel with my cousin. So this was a couple years after that. And we do like vlog style, and I used to go to Polish school on Saturdays. So we'd create so much content together, and we do separate our own things, but also joint on that account. It was a joint account, but just depend, like every single video is different. Sometimes it was just me, sometimes it was just him, sometimes we would like combine them together and we just have fun with it. We were just so incredibly creative with that account, I remember. And then later on, I also had like a TikTok account where it was like text on screen, and a couple of those videos actually had like over 50,000 views. However, obviously you're still quite limited when it's only text on screen. You can't be like as authentic and as creative. And I feel like that kind of like died down. I did it for a couple of months because I liked like the views that I was getting at the beginning, but like I just love to speak on camera. I just love being in front of a camera. I feel like that account made me realize that. So then later on, I had like this like UGC style type of like TikTok account as well, where I posted like beauty and like hair related, and some of them I spoke, some of them were just like cool, like kind of like influencer vibe, and I really love to do it. I did it for a couple of months, but I had really low views, like 0 engagement really. And so yeah, I just kind of like stopped doing that because I realized like I really like to speak, and like I know that I have so much more knowledge than just like, you know, beauty and stuff like that. And so that's why I started, I think it was like in between that time, maybe it was like a little bit before, but during that same time approximately, I started my YouTube account, which the videos are still there. I used to preach a lot about mindset, and I love to do it a lot. I really loved it. And so I did that for a couple of months. And I feel like that is a time where I started like kind of, my limiting beliefs started kind of coming into place. I'm gonna speak about that in just a second. But yeah, and then after I started my Instagram account back in March of 2026, like February, March approximately. And I loved it so much. Like it was so much fun to me. It's probably like one of the most fun times that I had with content, apart from like when I was 9 years old creating like all these YouTube videos and documenting. Like I had a lot of fun with this, and it's still something that I do till today. It's something that I love to do. It's been like months. It's been like 6 months now, I think. So yeah, I just loved it. I love it so much. I love connecting with people, and I love sharing my insights. It's always something that I've loved to do. And then apart from that, I've also done like I had like a couple modeling gigs. I've done a couple of brand deals here and there. And I remember I started also this clothing brand at some point, which I made no sales, but I loved it. I loved like design, anything like design, like creative work. So essentially what it was t-shirts, and they would have quotes on them. And they were really inspiring quotes that meant a lot to me. And that project just meant so much to me overall. But eventually that kind of just died down. I think this was about a year ago. So I'd say about even a little bit more than that. I would say like end of 2024, beginning 2025. And that was like the first kind of touch that I had with entrepreneurship. And I realized a long time ago that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. When I was 14 years old, like that was like during like the Tate era. And I really like grasped the concept of escaping the matrix. I'm like, holy moly, like this is, like I'm living in the matrix, and this is not what I want to be doing. Like that's when I really realized that I don't want to be living a 9 to 5, you know, when I was 14 years of age. And ever since then, like that's kind of when my like whole self-development like idea like spawned and stuff. So yeah, and then obviously along that, like that's when I did like the little like content things here and there that never really like lasted for like more than a couple of months. Some of them even lasted just like a couple of weeks. And I'm sure I had more like here and there. I would always like start something and never really finish it. Like that was kind of like just me. I don't know why I would have that. I think it comes from a lot from like limiting beliefs and like not doing something I'm passionate about. You know, I'd have to force myself to do these videos, and that's never good. You know, being a creator, you can't force yourself to do it. Like you have to be passionate about what you do. We're all creators, but we all are creators in different domains, and if you have to force yourself, like it's not going to last, especially at the beginning. If you have to force yourself, like forget about it. Like it's not going to last. Like that's the way that I view things. And so, I just want to say another thing. Like discipline is actually so much easier when you're doing something that you enjoy and something that you have purpose in. So yeah, that's basically that, just to kind of finish that off. But yeah, so I got into self-development at a really young age. I started reading lots of books. I started doing lots of research, but I never like, I did like the clothing, and I had little like e-com gigs here and there as well. I had like the stickers, and I remember I did like mugs, and yeah, and then, oh yeah, and then another thing. So my mom has her own skincare brand, and so what I would do, I'd help her out with content. I did the e-com side of it as well. I opened up her Shopify store, and I remember like we did a bulk order, and like I was packing orders here and there, and it was just like, it was fun times. I really enjoyed, it was a fun experience, but most importantly, I created content for her skincare brand. So everything that I have done, like kind of in entrepreneurship, I've done like so much, like from a young age, like I've lived quite through a lot. Never something that scaled though. It was always like usually like startups or like little things here and there, like let's say the modeling gigs and stuff like that. But I came to a conclusion recently that all of these things, I never realized it at the time when I was like recording, you know, but I have a passion for like speaking in front of the camera. I've always loved being in front of the camera. I've always loved to create content. Like, and that sparked when I was 9 years old. I've always loved to do it. I truly always have. And yeah, and just to kind of like give you a bit of insight also about like my family background, because me being so wise, people often compliment me like, you're so wise at a young age, you know? How did you become so like basically wise, you know? And I feel like a lot of that comes from like life lessons that I have learned from family, from like toxic environment. So for reference, my biological dad is an alcoholic. And when I was younger, I'd see him like on the weekends. So I'd see him basically every week. But I had to take care of him at a really young age. And I had to witness things that a child should never witness. I have a narcissistic stepdad, basically, that never really cares about other people's emotions. There was always like yelling. It was always very toxic. And then like my mom, quite emotionally unstable. I still love her, obviously. Like I love my whole entire family, but you know, still quite emotionally unstable. But just to kind of like give you a bit of insight, that's where the biggest life lessons that I preach about on my channel and, you know, on my like Instagram reels and stuff like that, that is like where most of like my biggest lessons come from. It's like I had to be the backbone of my family at a young age. I had to make sure that there was peace in the house, and I had to witness things, and I had to go through things that a child shouldn't, you know, like a child should have a healthy environment to grow up in, and I never had that. So I kind of had to find other ways, you know, to express my creativity and, you know, express like my emotions. And I feel like that laid a lot in content, you know, like obviously this is really deep, but like that's now to come to realization, that's basically what it was, you know? And so, yeah, so that's pretty much like kind of just background info about me. And so I recently came to a realization as well, like given all of this, because the past couple of weeks, I feel like I've been feeling like not purposeless. Like I know what my purpose is. My purpose was always to inspire. You know, I've always wanted to inspire. I've always wanted to leave an impact in people's lives. That was always what I wanted to do, and like my purpose in life. And so I've always like kind of been clear on that, but I never really knew how to express that. And for the past couple of weeks, I've been feeling I felt a little bit lost with it because I just finished high school, okay? And I'm taking a gap semester off, which that's why like I am really going in everything that I do, because I want to create something sustainable. And I don't want, like, I have a guaranteed 6 months to make something work. I don't want to go to college. Like, that is not the path that I see myself going down. It's not something that I want to do. So my family thinks I'm taking gap semester, but I am really working hard to turn this into like a gap life, you know, like that's basically what I'm working towards. But just kind of going back. So the realization that I had recently is that in order for me to leave an impact in people's lives, in this world, and in inspiring people, I have to share my story. I have to share my vulnerability. And that was always something that was difficult for me. Not always. Wait, let me rephrase that. For like, I would say the past year or 2 years, you know, when I was 9 years old, like I never really had those limiting beliefs. But as I grew up, I started developing limiting beliefs of, you know, what will people think about me? Or like, will I actually stay consistent with what I do? Or, you know, like I kind of also was thinking like my story isn't valuable enough to share. I had those little limiting beliefs in the back of my mind. And so until I came to realization that, holy moly, like this is what's been stopping me from actually sharing my story, because I've been doing content for the past 6 months. I've been preaching so many lessons and I love to do it, but nobody really knows who I am. And this is why I'm posting this video, because I want to put my story out there, because I am sure that somebody can relate to some type of elements in my life. And I feel like when you can relate to somebody, I know that feeling of being able to relate, and it just kind of not motivates you. I don't want to say motivate you, because it's even deeper than that, you know? I do want to inspire, and I feel like that is through sharing my story. If you take a look at all the greats, you know, how have they been so known till today? You know, they're known as the greats, like Alexander the Great. How do we know? Is because they have left a story on this earth, and their story is what has left an impact. Or let's say artists like Michael Jackson. There's a movie that came out about him just a couple of weeks ago, but like he's not alive. You know, but it's a story that marks something on us. There's stories that inspire, there's stories that leave an impact. And so I came to a realization that, you know, us as humans, we connect through stories. And the way that you can relate to somebody is through connection. So it all kind of goes, like it all circles back with each other, you know, like all of this. But what I'm trying to get to is that I realized that I need to share my story. And obviously it's still pretty beginning stages of my story. And that's something that I have given myself to do, is to go back to that little girl that used to document all the time and share that with the world, because that is how I'm going to inspire. And that's, once again, just a realization that I had just a couple of days ago. And this is why I sat down, and I want to be honest and transparent with who I am, where I come from. Sorry. And so, yeah. And so obviously there's still so much to be written, but I want to take you along what is to be written. And that pretty much sums it all up. So that is who I am. And if you want to stick along and see the story being written in real time, make sure to leave a subscribe button, and I'll leave like all my socials in the description.